So, welcome aboard. With Juniper release coming June, we've got a few minor features. There's a load of bug fixes in all of the products and various other bits and bobs. But the major features in there, global muting on iCS calls, which I'll show you where you turn that on, and it will behave the same as global muting on MRD calls for ARD, who, and telephony, but only iCS telephony calls, you'll have global muting. The screensaver exit is now configurable, how long it takes to exit, and wake the turret up, and I'll show you where you set that up, and then I'll give you a quick walkthrough of how we set up failover on an iCS site with a site that is already running with already an iCS, and you'll see that in action. There is a nice document that Earl's prepared for us to walk you through it, so I'm just going to walk you through that doc. First off, global muting on iCS lines. Really straightforward. If you've got an iCS, there's now a checkbox for global muting. You check that, and it enables iCS to do global muting for turrets on telephony calls. The screensaver timeout is a preference for the iTurret, and at the moment you can have your turret exit automatically if there's an incoming call, and then if you enable that, you get to choose how long it waits before it goes into screensaver and how fast it comes out of screensaver. The current 4 seconds is if you had 801s attached and everything attached, it waits till the turret's ready and then wakes the screen up to ensure that the audio call's always connected. In earlier code, it used to wake the turret up slowly, and some screens would come out of it while you're answering the call. So now it wakes everything up together. But if you have a customer, we've got someone in London, for instance, who doesn't like that lag, then you can tune that down a bit from 4 to none. So that's that. So jumping on to the main event, if you like, the resilience. We have a nice guide that's currently in draft until we release the product, which I can share with you also, so you can play with this yourself afterwards. It goes through what you need, related manuals, what the resilience is in the case of iCS. So this gives us coverage for a network failure if someone's shutting down or there's a power outage on one of the servers, and if you take it offline for maintenance, if you want to do a firmware upgrade or something. At the moment, the cluster is 2 nodes. It could be, in future, we're looking to make it larger than that, but the first release is just 2 nodes in a single cluster. And if we have a failover, existing calls and conference calls that are hosted on the iCS are not affected, they're not interrupted, but voice services and point-to-point intercom calls will be cleared down. So, what we'll do is I'll just set it up and run through it and then show you a failover. So in my case, this assumes you already got a working customer site, as it were. So iCS is deployed, turrets are deployed, iManager is deployed, and then we'll go in and make sure everything's up to date. The iCS servers need to be in the same VLAN because they share a logical address, and the iManager needs to be 3.2 or above to be able to configure it. So if we jump into our iCS, what we have here is a working solution. We've got 2 turrets with users seated on at the moment. We have an iCS, which is 10.1.115.50, which is this one. Sorry, this one. And if I refresh that, you'll see that it has some registrations. Okay, so we're 2.4. We're nice and running and live. Everything's green, and we've got 4 registrations for a gateway, and we've got 2 turrets with 8 registrations and some active call types. So we've got a Bloomberg and a 5 live hoot up and running. If we look at we've got an IG330 with those voice services on it, and a couple of turrets with those voice services on as well. And we also have ready for our demonstration another iCS 59 that is up and configured. It's not actually serving anyone. There's no registrations at the moment. So it's just sitting there waiting for us to configure it and do something. So the document walks you through step by step, and the first step is just we're going to, say you were adding resilience to an existing customer site, we're going to enable this site, we're going to enable resilience, we'll add the other address, configure everything, and give it a virtual address. So first off, I just need to check my box to enable resilience. As you can see, I've got my virtual addresses and resilient addresses. I'm going to add a new address and move them down and give them a third logical address. You could keep the logical address the same as the first server, but you'd have to go in and change the server's address. And my resilient node is 59. And I'm going to use 212 as my logical address. So I need to check that that's not in use. So make sure nothing responds. So this just kind of walks you through that. Tells you to set that stuff up. And then if I hit apply, you'll see that now I have on here 2 addresses. It's currently out of sync. So it's pushing the config to those servers. If I give it a moment, it'll synchronize them. So now I've got a logical IP address, which maybe
logical IP address, Tim. Sorry, just to interrupt for a sec. That's kind of like a hot swap, or pardon me.
Yeah, like the IG330, where we share an address. But that's not pingable yet because the config hasn't been applied and the resilience hasn't been started on the server. So if I hit that, you can see no one's replying to that yet. The guide then walks you through getting the iCSs up and going. You can see I've got to restart the iCS. So if I jump to 50 and refresh that, you can see that a restart's required because it's not just an online update, it's a bit more than that. It's got to enable all of the resilience stuff. So I'll do the restart. Move that over a bit. And it's coming up. So if we wait a moment. So at the moment, that's the primary server. Then I need to go to so no node's started yet. I'm going to install the config on the secondary node, which just needs, that needs a reload as well. And you can see that one wants to restart as well with its new config. Once that's up, then what I need to do is show that's back in that same state. It's got its resilience, it's in this stop state. What I have to do then is go to the one that I want to be the primary, in this case this one, and start the cluster. And it will then hit up create cluster, and it will go ahead and, using the config it's got, join the other iCS into the cluster. And after a moment, you'll see that we'll have an active node and a passive node, which this is detailed on this stuff. And we'll be able to ping that logical IP address. At this point, the turrets are carrying on doing whatever they were doing before. So where we're setting this up, it's kind of an out of hours task. They're going to lose registrations while the iCSs are down. Takes a little while for them to negotiate between them. Setting up the virtual address. And then starting the iCS service. So we're up and running. We've got a virtual address as 212. The online node, they're both online because they're both active. Sorry, they're both running, but only one's the active node. The active node is the one illustrated by the star. We go and look at the passive node. You can see that it's running in passive mode. Sorry, the star is the server that you're looking at. It tells you whether it's the running passive or the active. The current active node is 50. There's two nodes in there. And this is the logical address of the registrar. So that should now be pingable, which it is. And as you can see, I've got no registrations at the moment. So it's up and running. I can actually browse to that address now because it's a live address. So you can manage it from the logical address. And you can see that the active node is 50. The stuff's running and it's active. And I can take it offline if I want to do maintenance, or I can stop the setup. What we need to do is synchronize our gateways and our destinations to tell them now to use the new logical address. That's left as a synchronization because you will log the users off. So if they were functioning, they would stop whilst you do the synchronization. It'll log them in and out again. So synchronize these two guys. And the gateway. And if we go back to here, we'll see in a moment our devices start registering again. Just waiting for them to finish syncing. There we go. So our gateway's come back. Release that. And our turrets should come back in a moment. There we go, one of them's back. So this is just the enabling of the settle down in a second. There we go. So now it's all up and running, and we're in resilience mode. And we can see everything's come back in. Got my 3 active voice services again. So this is just telling you that that's how you get it up and running, which we've just done. Sorry, and then this section here tells you how we can force a failover. I could whip the power out of one, but what I'll do is I'll just take the current active node offline, and we'll see that it fails over to the other node. And we'll see that the active node changes to 59. The logical address will still be the same. So just 483. So we can see now the current active node is 59. I've still got 4 and 8, but the call types that were active were the voice service type of calls, which I mentioned earlier, which they will go down, but they'll get re-established in a moment. Let's see, devices. There we go. So we've failed over, and now our current active node, I took the first node offline, so that's the offline node. Our current active node is 59. If we look at that one, we'll see if we go directly at the node, we can see that it's offline. I can start the node again, but that won't cause it to fail back. That'll just bring the node back online. So that's a failover. The next quick topic was just if you needed to disable it. That's in here. I'll show you that in a second once it's all back up and you can see that it's working. Go back to our. So now I've got 2 online nodes. Just waiting for that to update its interface. The disabling resilience, if you need to, is kind of the inverse process. So we're up and running again. So first you need so that's up and running. Hope you're all comfortable with that. I'd say take the code after this and just go and play with it. You'll see how it all works. It's also running on the in-house system here, so you can also have a look at that setup if you need to. So we're going to stop resilience and just take it apart so that we don't need it anymore. So we'll clear down everything. And it will stop in a moment. It's all uses a watchdog system around between the 2 servers, so it's just disabling that stuff. And we'll just reconfigure it to put it back. If a customer wants to deploy this, it doesn't take too long to deploy. It's just once you've got the servers running and installed. There we go. Taking its time. The iManager change that we'd need to do is relatively straightforward. While I wait for that, it will be cut and paste. So that's stopped. Server not running. This one will need a new install of the config. So now there's no resilience there. As before, the turrets and the gateway, jumped a couple of steps, but you can see I've cleared down the resilience. It's restarted the server. It's now running. And then I just need to synchronize everyone to come back. And now there's no logical address anymore. If I try and ping that, get no response. And refresh that. See the devices are syncing. They're just coming back to me now. In a moment. As it sets everything up again. There you go. One thing you'll notice when you do, if you see a failover, the registrations will drop. As I say, the calls will stay up that are telephony based. But you'll see the registration slowly increase after a failover. They share a record, but the devices have got their re-registration time. So they just, the next time they re-register, they just re-register with the logical address, and you'll see this count go back up again. So if you had like 500 registrations, you might see that drop a little bit whilst they're all re-registering by themselves individually. So that's it. I don't know if you have any questions on it. The code's all up on the FTP in the beta code folder. I'll share this document with you after this, and I can share the WebEx with you after as well. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Just one from me, Tim. You said at the start there that the resilient server needs to be in the same network.
Yep.
Is this always going to be the way? And is there some sort of a multicast shed between them, or could we locate it somewhere else in the future? I'm just thinking about different sites. Typically, that's how a DR would happen.
Yeah. So the way we've implemented it at the moment is that they have to share a logical address, and that has to be routable for whichever network their device is in. So if they extend the layer 2 VLAN between buildings, then you can have them in different locations. But because they share that one logical address, it's the reach of that logical address that's the issue. It's not a multicast thing. I mean, obviously there's the MCC if you're using intercom, which has to be able to find the devices, but that, you know, you can spread that out over different VLANs and increase the time to live.
And Tim, is that how it's always going to be?
For the first,
or do you have any plans to just because, as Rob said, if I was to have a resilient iCS, I would want it in a separate data center on a separate VLAN. So if that was to fail, the network was to fail, then the site, we was to lose the site, then the other iCS would take over. Well, rather than, I mean, we're on the same VLAN, they're probably going to be in the same building, or unless they can extend it through, and then that will just give them.
This flavour is to protect you against hardware failure of the server, not DR of building. We're looking at diverse routing for that, because obviously your gateways would possibly be in that same building or a different building as well. So we're looking at being able to have alternate registrations from the endpoint's point of view, so they would be able to register in different places. So there is we have got a plan for that, but it won't be the same plan.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Tim.
Okay, no problem. All right. Well, if no one's got any other questions, I'll draw a close there. Thank you all for your time.
Perfect. Thanks, Tim.
If you've got any questions, think about. Thank you.
Cheers, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.